everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the things that I want to see in Breath of the Wild 2 whenever that happens to come out. With the 35th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda happening very recently, I've really wanted to get into some Legend of Zelda videos, so I'll probably be on that topic for quite a little while. So there are three different categories of stuff that I want to go over today. We're going to break it down into what I want to see kept from Breath of the Wild, what I would like to see taken away that was originally in Breath of the Wild, and what I would like to see added that wasn't in Breath of the Wild. So first we'll go over the things that I want to see kept from the original Breath of the Wild over to Breath of the Wild 2. The first thing that I want to see kept from the original Breath of the Wild is the cooking system. I would also really like to see it expanded upon so that maybe not only can we cook things, but also we could craft weapons or shields, stuff like that. I really just want there to be more uses for the metals and gems and stuff that we find. Maybe we would be able to upgrade weapons that we find, craft new weapons. Maybe a main quest in the game could even be to find certain materials needed to upgrade the Master Sword itself. We've seen themes of sort of giving new power to the Master Sword that it had lost through, of course, in original Skyward Sword, we turn the original Goddess Sword into the Master Sword by returning power to it. In Wind Waker, we have to awaken the Earth and Wind Sages to bring power to the Master Sword. So I think it might be kind of cool to play on those themes again, but maybe in more of a crafting sense. So the next thing that I want to see kept from Breath of the Wild is its interesting side quests. So some of the best side quests that have been in the game have been in Breath of the Wild, such as Tarrytown, which is my personal favorite. I really want to see more interesting side quests like this that aren't just fetch quests, and I think the Breath of the Wild did a really good job having a variety of side quests. So I really want to see Breath of the Wild also take advantage of this huge expansive world and just be filled with side quests that we can complete that are also interesting and fun to complete. The last thing that I want to see transfer over from the original Breath of the Wild to Breath of the Wild 2 is all of the interesting locations that we were able to explore in Breath of the Wild. This world is enormous, and I really hope that we can explore old locations that we explored in Breath of the Wild, but seeing how they've evolved and changed in the time after Calamity Ganon has been defeated. It would also really be cool to see if any changes are made to ruins that are found throughout Breath of the Wild, such as the Typhlo ruins, or the Zonai ruins, or the Colosseum. There are tons of ruins that we come across in this game that I would really like to see revamped for Breath of the Wild 2. I want to see how the world has sort of adapted and started to reclaim these abandoned locations. Alright, now on to the one thing that I would like to see done away with between Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild 2, and that is the shrines. Don't get me wrong, the shrines were really cool. I really loved them at the beginning, but they do sort of start to get repetitive. Even though a lot of the shrines have different and varying challenges that you have to complete, they do all have the exact same theme. All of the items in them look the same across shrines, and they're just trials and not actually dangerous or challenging to Link, because there's no threat to him while he's trying to complete them. It's just a puzzle, essentially. Now let's talk about the things I would like to see added to the world of Hyrule for Breath of the Wild 2. Now, honestly, this is just going to be a list of bringing back kind of classical Zelda tropes and applying them to Breath of the Wild, which was a very atypical Zelda game. First of all, and kind of tying back to not wanting to see the shrines anymore, I would like traditional dungeons back. Dungeons in past Zelda games have just come in so many different varieties, and I would love to return to those. Don't get me wrong, I know all the Blight Ganons have their own subtle differences between each other, but it kind of felt like we had the same boss battle 5 times in a row in this game. The bosses looked the same, we fought them slightly in the same way. I really want to see more traditional Zelda bosses come back. I love having to figure out how to defeat them, whereas the bosses in Breath of the Wild were sort of like, hit them enough times and they'll die. Traditional Zelda bosses are almost a puzzle in and of themselves because you have to figure out what strategy to use to defeat them, also what their weaknesses are, what items you have to use. I think they're a ton of fun, and I really missed those while I was playing Breath of the Wild. Next is the traditional Zelda music. Now, I know this is not an original opinion. I am not the first to say this, but I would really like to have that just iconic Zelda music back. In past Zelda games, I could listen to the soundtrack and know exactly where a specific song would occur. I could picture where I was when this song was being played, and I just can't say the same for Breath of the Wild. The music in this game is much more atmospheric, and I definitely understand it because you pretty much spend all your time out in this open world, so the same sort of really iconic song played over and over again would get kind of grating. But with that said, I miss the traditional Zelda music. I think it'd be really cool if Link in this game has an instrument like he's had in a few other games. I really miss being able to play the music, learning the music. And we also saw in the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer that it looks like that the Sheikah Towers and all of the shrines that we used as kind of fast travel locations aren't there anymore. So maybe we could use this instrument as a way to fast travel around the world with those Sheikah constructions gone. The next thing that I would like brought to Breath of the Wild 2 is classic Zelda items. I'm not sure exactly how bringing these back would work with the durability system, but I think bringing these items back would be really cool for veteran players that haven't seen new items in a while, or at least seen new uses for them in a while. It might be cool if maybe we got a hook shot in the game. We might be able to climb up the sides of mountains or cliffs in the rain. I also think that bringing back classic Legend of Zelda items could really help motivate players to explore the world a lot. Because at the very beginning of most Zelda games, there are certain locations in the world that you can't reach yet until you get a specific item, such as, say, the hook shot or the grappling hook, stuff like that. I think it'd be really cool to bring back having to find a certain item in the world and then have to return somewhere where maybe you couldn't reach before, such as to get heart pieces and stuff like that. Speaking of heart pieces, I guess if I would like to get rid of the shrines, we're gonna have to bring back heart pieces also. And the final thing that I want brought to Breath of the Wild 2 is a linear timeline, or at least more linear. In Breath of the Wild, we sort of discover the timeline of the game through flashbacks. Now we can find these flashbacks in pretty much any order, and eventually we can sort of piece together where everything goes and watch all these flashbacks in linear order. But finding these flashbacks doesn't change the present world. In past Zelda games, reaching certain milestones would lead to a big change happening in the world, such as when Link goes through the Temple of Time 7 years into the future and Ganondorf has taken over, or in Wind Waker when you're looking for Jaboon and the entire world becomes nighttime indefinitely until you find him. Stuff like this happened in old Zelda games, but we didn't really see it in Breath of the Wild, where reaching a certain milestone really changes the world. I guess technically stuff like completing Varudania kind of, it stops raining in the Zora Kingdom, but I want more sort of story-focused progression as you reach certain milestones in Breath of the Wild 2. Does that make sense? I hope I'm not just rambling and not making any sense at all. It makes sense in my head. Alright, that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Now, of course, everything in this video was just my opinion and stuff that I would like to see come back to the Legend of Zelda series. Let me know in the comments down below if there's anything that you would like to see in Breath of the Wild 2, and I honestly just hope you guys are excited about it as I am. I'm so excited to play this game. I hope that I'll be able to stream it on Twitch or at least share my experience of the game with you guys. I'm also really looking forward to Skyward Sword HD. I'll definitely have some content coming out about that game as soon as I can get my hands on it. But as always, I post videos every single Wednesday, and don't forget to tune in next Wednesday because I've got something really special that I'm very excited about planned for Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary. So you don't want to miss it, or maybe you do, I don't know. I'm excited about it and I've been thinking about it for days. I'm very excited for this next video. So subscribe if you would like to see more Legend of Zelda content in the future from me, and also like this video to help out my channel. I really appreciate it. I can't tell you guys how much it means to me. Also, leave a comment on this video if you want to chat with me, or again, if you have any cool stuff that you want to see in Breath of the Wild 2. Also, let me know if you have any suggestions for future videos that you would like to see. I am definitely open to suggestions. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye!